Scott Reid, CTV political analyst, former advisor to Prime Minister Paul Martin, and our feature, of course, brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. And don't forget, ask about the Carney climate control system, because now that the weather's finally starting to get warm, not today or tomorrow, but the next day, they'll make sure your system is running the way it should be. Keep you nice and cool all summer long. 514-342-3400. That's Guaranteed Industries, serving Montrealers for more than 75 years. Scott, we've been talking all afternoon. I don't know if there's a political angle to this or not. We have the first ever American Pope, Pope Leo XIV, and so far, from what I've seen, Donald Trump has not claimed that it had anything to do with him.
Yeah, it's quite a thing, eh? Here's a weird story. My 11-year-old son this morning on the way to school says, "Hey, Dad, are they gonna pick a new pope today?" And I'm like, "Well, possibly." And he's like, "So explain it to me." And I'll just put my cards on the table. I'm not super religious, and I'm definitely not a Catholic. And I was interested by how interested my son was. And he was really into, the process. And then he texted me, in the middle of the day, and he's like, "I heard they picked an American pope." Like, I don't know, man.
Your 11-year-old was asking you this?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what was going on, or what kind of, we don't have these secular rules in our schools, here in Ontario. So maybe they're talking about it in the classroom. But
wow.
Look, I think it's interesting. It only interests me personally so far. But the one thing I would note from the pure political standpoint is that this specific new pope, he took a run at J.D. Vance. He was pretty bold in taking him online a little, because J.D. Vance made this whole argument that the way that the world used to work was you cared about the people in your family, then you cared about the people in your neighborhood, then you cared about the people in your city, then your country, and you went out from there. And he goes, now what's all screwed up is this used to be the essence of Catholic teaching, but now we're told, and it was, I guess, a shot at Pope Francis, now you're supposed to care, you got it backward. You're supposed to care about the people overseas most of all and first of all. And he started saying how this was a turning Catholic doctrine on its ear, and it was wrong. And our new pope crashed on him online and said, actually, no, we're not supposed to rank those we love. We're just supposed to express human concern and affection for everyone equally. So he's been willing to. This guy's shown a little bit of game. He's been willing to jam them. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I'd not even heard anything. The running gag was that J.D. Vance, careful to shake his hand. He was the last guy to shake Pope Francis's hands, and then he died. So that's the last time.
I don't know if you've seen Conclave, but I think there's a sequel coming.
All right, listen, I know there's a political element to this. Donald Trump, by the way, did tweet and said he was looking forward to meeting him and promised he would not dress as the Pope when they met. So maybe we can take something from that.
He's always gracious.
Yeah. Listen, let me go on to talk about Carney transition. First of all, I'm seeing a lot of people reacting now to what happened. And, we talked about this the other day when it did happen. Kind of, if you will, gave round one to Carney in his meeting with Donald Trump. You agree?
Yeah, I think so. And we live in this ridiculous world where, world leaders who are elected by their populations, sovereign nations, have to spend a half a day sweating over what will the handshake go like, and will he grab me by both lapels, or will he try to put his arm around me in an act of domination, put his hand on my leg in the Oval Office.
Yikes.
But it is what it is. And, so you knew that test was coming. And Carney passed it, I thought, with flying colors, and stood up to him, but didn't obsess over all of the nuttiness when he started rambling on about Obama's library, or started talking about how he doesn't need anything from Canada. He didn't really he just kind of let it pass. A little bit of the side eye, can you believe I have to put up with this? Was coming off of his face, but I thought he played his cards well. He sort of stood his ground, but didn't tilt the board so badly that it went off the rails. So, I would definitely say round one to Carney, and we'll see what happens now. Now, can we get beyond the kabuki theater and get to actually trying to figure out how to normalize economic relations? So we'll see.
Well, so let's kind of frame this then. Today we heard about this deal worked out between the U.S. and the U.K., which is really the first deal since tariffs were imposed, at least that we know about. seems pretty significant because auto tariffs are involved. There's a lot of exchange back in here. You take that as a good sign that something can happen with us?
Yes and no. The yes part is, I think it is like Trump's enthusiasm for it, his celebration about it. He even raised it with when Prime Minister Carney was in the Oval Office. He said, "Oh, we got big things coming this week. Could be Thursday, could be Friday, could be Monday. Big. And you're like, wow, is he going to reveal like an alien autopsy? Like, what's going on?" And it turns out it was this deal with the UK. And I think that's good news that he's placing so much weight on it, because to me, he betrays his insecurity. He betrays the fact that he's conscious of the fact that his poll numbers are down, that he was elected to manage the economy well, but he's not doing that well, and he's not protecting jobs in the United States. He's not protecting industry in the United States. And it's almost entirely because of the self-inflicted tariff policy. And so his enthusiasm for this deal suggests to me that he wants a way out. He wants to show like, okay, see, I puffed my chest out, I got my way, and now that's good, and maybe other countries will follow. What discourages me is our auto sector is a whole lot different than Britain. And so I still think that he will obsess about the fact we have an integrated North American auto sector, and he doesn't want it to be. He wants it to all be in Alabama and all be in Michigan. And so maybe it's going to take longer and it will be harder for us to get that deal, but hopefully we will. Hopefully he's starting to feel vulnerable, because he doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about the UK. He doesn't care about American citizens. He only cares about himself. So if he's concluded that it's in his interest to strike deals, I'll take it, man. Good enough.
By the way, if I understood it, the UK deal beyond automobiles, because I know they're in there, I think there's 100,000 now British-made cars that are allowed into the country. But steel and aluminum, which were tariffed, are now apparently not going to be tariffed. That's exactly what we're facing.
Yeah, and that I'm a little more encouraged in that sector, because I'm hoping that that sets a precedent, because I do think he feels the pinch of that. When you think about the political weight of steel producing and steel consuming industries in the States, like they're going, "Hey man, you're blowing up our sector, and this is not cool." And he lives in this world where like we're all on sailing vessels, traveling around the world as though it's 1750. But aluminum and steel is also integrated all around the world in terms of trade. So I think he's feeling the heat from the Pittsburghs, and hopefully that will lead to something more productive quicker.
Just as a final question, real quick, a little off topic, but only in a sense of, it's not the UK. I read today that China is, scouring the world looking for someplace they can get canola from, because of course they're not, they're boycotting Canadian canola. You think we end up doing a deal with them? I know a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, suggesting, let's not cozy up to China. They're not as nice as perhaps we're making them out to be. What do you think ultimately happens? There is a deal, or there isn't, between Canada and China?
Possibly. And, we might want to strike a deal just as a shot across the bow to the United States. Because, this is the utter stupidity of Trump's economic policy and his tariff policy, is that he is driving nations into the waiting arms of China. Because people say, well, if I don't have that massive U.S. market that I can sell my things to, China is knocking on my door, and I don't want to go there because of the geopolitical issues, because of their flagrant disrespect for democratic values, because they're insistent so they have to censor things. But, man, if that's what it takes to keep people in jobs, maybe I got to go there. And Trump is delivering countries and economies into the arms of China, and that weakens America's geopolitical position.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see that link because he's blind to anything except his own ego. And Canada itself may want to take advantage of that. Maybe we do strike a deal. Maybe we announce a deal just as a sign to him, like, hey, buddy, even on your own continent, you're forcing us to deal with China, which we don't want to because you're so obtuse. So we'll see, maybe.
Okay.